What's up, everyone? Thanks for coming by again. It's good to see you all. Appreciate you coming and visiting. It's now been about 4 weeks since we've been on here. You've probably noticed my fat face. It's been about 12 weeks since the show. I'm up about 30 pounds. I think I may go a couple more pounds, and when I hit that point, I'll start coming back down, hopefully. Until then, I'm enjoying it. I'm not enjoying, when you're used to being at a particular body fat percentage and you allow yourself to put, another 8% on, it's a little bit to get used to, but it's necessary. It's necessary for health. It's definitely necessary to put on some muscle. I just think people, they way overdo it in the so-called bulking or dirty bulking or clean bulking or whatever or however you want to call it, it's just gaining weight. It's a surplus above where you were. It depending upon how much you want to put on will determine, the quality of weight gain, so to speak. Just like in the weight loss process. If you gain too fast, a good majority of it's going to be mostly fat. If you lose too fast, a good majority is going to be muscle. But that's not why I'm on here today. Earlier this morning, every morning when I do my cardio, I jump on YouTube and see what's available, to get me through that 20, 30 minutes or so. And someone who I highly respect was on there on his channel, and he was talking about himself and his siblings. And quite honestly, there was a lot I didn't know, and I'm glad that he did that. And here's the thing. I mean, I personally myself, I'm just a speck of sand in a sea of insignificance as far as anything out there in this world as far as importance. I'm just me, little personal trainer, and hiding out in a small little studio and up in the sticks of New Hampshire, just trying to help people, doing my best to change some lives. But whether it's someone as, I don't want to say insignificant, but it's someone as just myself or someone who's the elite level of Jose, who I was just talking about. He's a world-class bodybuilder. He's been in the Olympia in the top. He's been in the 212 class, the top 3 for the last 9 years in a row. That's impressive as hell. So he was opening up about his family, and us bodybuilders or even just fitness people or whatever, we're looked at it in a one-dimensional way. We're not, bodybuilders especially, we're just looked at as meatballs who just, putting on muscle. And of course there's all the negative, accusations and whatever assumptions about, someone who's of that magnitude of size, or not me, but speaking of bodybuilders in general, where no one ever knows the person. And when someone really opens up and tells you about themselves and how they were brought up and where they came from, and you really, really, really get deep and understand why they are the way they are. If they're, especially, successful people, there's a reason why they're successful. It's not from luck. Something drove them to be successful. It's the way we were brought up. It's what we had to endure. Now, I've mentioned it many times over the years about my mother and all, but Speaking for myself, I mean, anyone who knows me would tell you that I'm a very positive approach to the world. I don't, I don't. I try my best not to be negative, and I try to be as encouraging as I can, and that's all sincere. But quite honestly, I mean, I'm not all the time like that. Quite honestly, I'm a very anxious, obsessive compulsive person, neurotic. I worry all the time. I'm very sarcastic and dark. But that's just me inside. And the reason why I am the way I am, and the reason that I am so nutso when it comes to schedule and organization and, being on time and accountability and all is the way I was brought up. And I was not brought up in a very pleasant environment. I don't want to say it was unpleasant in the sense that it was an awful as far as abuse. There was no abuse at all. There was nothing really but love and support coming from my father. But unfortunately, the way I was brought up from the age of about 5 till unfortunately, 11 years ago when my mother passed, it was very hard. As a kid, I could never have kids over my house. My mother would always be freaking out, smashing stuff, almost lighting the house on fire. There was dozens of times where they had to come take my mother away in the stretcher in a straitjacket, and that's very upsetting to a kid. I could never leave my house. I could never grow up like most kids. I could never have girls over the house. I just even talking on the phone, my mother would be screaming her head off in the other room, smoking her cigarettes. I had to live in a secondhand smoke environment of a constant cloud of smoke all the time. I used to stuff towels underneath the door of my bedroom so the smoke wouldn't seep in. Those things drove me. They drove me to start working out. They put me down in the basement with the weights. I mean, initially it was all sparked by getting picked on as a kid. I told you that. But really, my main motivation of going down there was more of an escape. It was an escape, and then I felt good when I was doing it. Hitting the weights and coming up with my own routines and experimenting down there in that cold, damp basement. From the age of like 9 till 18. I lived down there for hours at a time, and at the same time, going to school, working a couple of jobs, and so on. It got me in a direction, a positive direction. I took the negative atmosphere that I was forced to live in, and again, it was very well enforced or supported with love from my father, who was doing his best to take care of me, my brother, and my sister, and my mother. It was not my mother's fault, but it was very hard. So when I ended up going into the military, I ended up getting involved in at some point during my time I served in the Marine Corps, and I'll get into this story another day, but I ended up running a gym and then getting involved in some powerlifting, and then encouraged to get involved in bodybuilding. So from like 1986 until now, that's a long time. Bodybuilding has been the foundation of the way I am. It's instilled discipline. It's kept me organized, and most importantly, it's kept me accountable. But with all that being extremely important, it's pushed me in the direction to make others that way. It helped me help others. So you have to appreciate your past. whether it be good or bad, awful environment or not. You can either take that bad situation and blame the world and everything around you every time something goes bad and blame everyone else except yourself, or you can take it, use it, and fire yourself up and go a positive way. Go in a positive direction. Let it get you mad. Let it get you pissed. But don't put blame on everything else. Suck it up, own up, and do the best you can. Turn it around for the better. That's what successful people do. Successful people don't look for blame. They look for reasons to succeed. You look for the positive. So don't judge people if you don't know them, if you don't know the person inside. I encourage you to go over to Jose Raymond's YouTube channel and watch his recent video about his siblings and himself. And you'll get to know him a lot better than I even knew. And I've known the kid for over 20 years. But that's him and everyone else. Anyone for that matter. If you're in the gym and someone's being a douche or being just a dick, there's probably a reason for that. So don't judge the person. Don't judge a person on their appearance. Don't judge a person on their race. Don't judge a person on the way they are acting or looking, whatever, until you know the person in particular. All right, so I'm out. I don't know if this could be used in regards to fitness and nutrition. Certainly, probably not. But the moral of this story is get to know people before you pass judgment. All right? So get to the gym. Go Pats this weekend. If you're a football person, it's going to be a great game. All right, everyone. I'll see you very soon. And keep up with your New Year's results. Keep going. Push it as hard as you can. All right? See y'all soon.